Thank you. Thank you. There's a parent who actually thank you. Yes, we also would want to just delve into the program immediately. In case of anything, we'll have questions where Neema shall guide us. Let me just do a quick intro for Neema, and then she starts us off. Her name is Neema Kamau. First and foremost, she is passionate about home learning and everything regarding to just children and just raising children. She's very passionate about it. Her background, I know, was in finance and a banker for quite some time. But then she is very, at the moment, her passion is really to see the next generation raised and just for them to be educated and discipled at home. She's a Christian, but very passionate about this. She has come to Marisha about 3 years ago when we had our first Engage Your Child forum. And those that were able to be part of it benefited greatly. And so she's a great resource. She also runs a program called Elimubox, which I'll send to you also on email. But it's a wonderful platform which has a lot of resources for children. And so we shall invite you to consider. She has very affordable resources in terms of books. As affordable as right now, I don't know why I'm saying affordable, maybe it's because of the COVID reality. And so even for this season, because most of the afternoons will not be heavily engaged, sorry, maybe there's a parent who needs to be responded to. This season will not be heavily engaged in the afternoon. So maybe some of those resources, you can consider them and just see how to bring them on board in terms of learning and growth. I think that's best. She can introduce anything else that I may. I know she also ran a program for some time online called Zazi, and you can get it on Facebook. And so we shall give you both links, but I want us to give her the opportunity to just take us through and save us on the time. And then so that we hopefully also have an opportunity to have question and answer at the end of the session. Yes. So Neema, welcome. And you can, all of us can just ask questions maybe at a certain time, but I think also we can ask even as it continues, because I know she's also very responsive. And so she can be able to ask, we don't have to wait all the way to the end. We can continue asking as she continues, but maybe we'll have a specific question and answer time. So Neema, karibu, and take us through.
Thank you. All right, good morning, everyone. Glad to be joining you in this session. Thank you for showing up early. I know it's a Saturday morning, time to sleep in, but thank you for showing up. So as Thomas introduced me, I am quite passionate in education. My background is finance. So I run a business right now where I sell children's storybooks and educational resources. And I'll be talking a bit about that, as we go along. So just to kick us off, I'm just going to share my presentation. And maybe just actually before I do that, maybe just a couple of things. At some point, I will ask us to write some things on the whiteboard. So I will share a whiteboard, and you should be able to, type in some feedback to some questions that I will ask. Maybe when we get there, it's very simple. It's a very simple tool, but I'll just tell you exactly what you need to do. All right, so let me just share this. Okay, so I hope you're all able to see my presentation. All right, so I've titled it Back to School, Learning as Usual or Learning Unusual. We find ourselves in very interesting times where, everything is literally shut down. Children are not able to go to school as normal. To be in a physical space where they're learning with their friends, learning with their teachers. And this has shifted primarily to the home. And so this session, as Audrey had introduced it, is really just to have a discussion around this. I'll be sharing just from my experience, things I've read about, things I've researched, what are other people, going through, how are they coping, not just here in our context, but even out there, there's a couple of good learnings. And I hope we'll have a fruitful discussion and conversation. I love questions, so I'd really encourage you to just ask questions and just feel free to express yourselves. All right, give me a second. Okay, so these are really just our discussion areas. So I'll do, just a quick intro. What's our reality check? Where are we at? What are some skills and tips? And then we'll do a Q&A. All right, so I'm sure for some of us right now, this is our situation, as you're working at home. You are trying to get some work done, think you have a little window, but before you know it, your little ones are done. And so this really is our situation in terms of trying to juggle, working at home, because for some of us parents, we're working from home, and trying to get our kids, doing school at the same time. And of course, it's not an easy juggle. Of course, when you have multiple children, you are trying to deal with being a referee, so, because even for the children, this is a completely different situation. They're basically homebound, literally 24/7. They may not have a nice space to go out, run around, burn some energy. So these are some of the situations you may be finding yourself in. All right, so before we get into this reality check, this is where I would like to show my whiteboard. So I'll just stop that for now. And I'll share this whiteboard. Maybe you can just put your hand up if you can see it. Okay, super. Okay, so I want us to have just a quick discussion, just talking about what are we going through and what's happening. Okay, so when you click on the whiteboard, you should have a button where you can annotate. Okay, so the first thing I'd like us to just is our expectations in terms of our children's learning. What are we expecting? So if you could just annotate that on the whiteboard. Are we able to do that? Okay, I cannot see anything. Is everyone able to annotate? If you go just down to your panel, you should see something called the annotation tools. Audrey, Tom, are you able to do that?
You're saying at the bottom of the panel?
Yes. If you click on the whiteboard, you should be able to see a black panel.
Yeah.
So there should be a button there for annotate. I think it's after where you have the 3 dots.
More.
Yes.
More, yes.
It just has pause. It doesn't have annotation.
Hold on a second. Do you have a button called text?
For text, no, not necessarily.
Hold on a second, let me see. Okay, so on yours, you should be able, on the black strip.
Yep.
You should have, let me see. I think mine is slightly different, but there should be a button there, written annotate. Let's see. What do you have on your black strip?
It's just the three, okay, apart from the stop video participants, polls, share screen, just
No,
like
on the actual whiteboard.
on the actual whiteboard.
Yes, the annotate is on the actual whiteboard.
No. No, we don't have that one.
Anybody seen the annotate?
Oh, annotate, yes. I've seen
Yes.
the very top when you're saying you're viewing Neema Kamau screen.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
yes. At the very top where it's written you're viewing Neema Kamau screen, right there when you click view options and click down, you'd be able to click and annotate. And then now, yes, I can say, and then now you'll be able to.
Yes, to type on the whiteboard.
Yes, sorry, I think it's to learn some skills. I hope it can, yes, something like that.
Yes, yeah. Yes, then I'll just arrange them here. Okay,
Yes.
so parents, you can just
Have you
go
gotten it as a parents? Have the parents gotten it? You can raise your hand if you found. When you go to the very top of your screen, you're seeing it. There's a green tab that's written "You're viewing Neema Kamau's screen," and then right when you click, it has view options, and you can click it down. Have you seen it? Oh, those options can only be seen by the panelists. Okay, that's okay. I think you can
I see.
Neema. What you can do, they can
Okay.
probably also give just expectations on the chat.
Yes, I think then let's just do it on the chat.
Okay.
Okay, someone said my appearance is very dark. Are you able to see me better now? Tom, Audrey, are you able to see me better?
Yes, a bit more, but I think because of the bright background.
Okay. I think also my lighting is not, the sun has not yet come in. So let me see if I can try and change position. Okay.
Better.
One of the parents has written the expectations.
Okay. Okay, yes, so I can see that.
Some of the
how the kids can interact more because they miss each other. Okay, great. Maybe I'll see actually if I can just put them on the whiteboard. Just give me a second. Okay. Okay, so another one is expecting to hear how the children will be engaged virtually. Okay. All right, we're hoping our children can continue to learn, okay. Expecting to be better equipped to support children at home. The other one is how to align curriculum nationally so that they can all be at the same level when normal learning returns, okay. How to help the kids enjoy learning from home. Okay. All right. Oh, yes. And also trying to balance my work and support fun learning. All right. Okay. And then expecting the kids should be able to interact, so they shouldn't lag behind in the syllabus. Okay. Then hoping for ideas to engage all the children through this time. I have multiple children and when one is engaged, the others seem bored. Yes, that is very true, especially for the youngest ones, especially for the youngest ones. Okay, and then how to assess the resources they need. Okay, maybe just one or two more. Okay, so consistent scheduling. All right. I think also Audrey will be able to answer some of the ones that are specific to academics. Okay, how to assess all the resources that they need. Okay, that's a great one. Okay, all right. I think this has answered also part of my second questions. My second question, which was, what are our expectations in terms of, from the parent side as well? What kind of support do you need? What kind of resources do you need? So I think I'll just move on to the third one. Okay, let me just post this last one. How to make them cooperative, especially since this homeschooling thing is a whole new concept. Okay, all right. Okay, great. I'll just save that. So let me just clear this and let me put in something else. I think my next one will be just to the parents. So what are some of your, let me just type that out. So what are some of your thoughts and fears in this season? And also just with regards to being the ones who will primarily be supporting your children at home. What are some of your thoughts and fears? You can just go ahead and type those. Okay, so will they be at the same level when school reopens? Okay. All right. Okay, I'm afraid that they might give up and play and let them play all day. All right, yeah, very true. It's a whole new situation for them as well. Okay, the uncertainty and anxiety from the children, yes, that's very true. Okay, any other thoughts? All right, balancing between our work schedule. Okay, for the parents who are working online from home. All right, how to have time and energy to support learning. I have 4. Wow, and your youngest is 5 weeks. Okay. All right, my fear is that I wouldn't be a good enough teacher or tutor. Okay. Yes, the kids are getting fat. Yeah, eating a lot. Food budgets are going through the roof. Okay, not being able to fully support the children, because of lack of skills and patience. Okay, resource availability. All right. Okay, not being able to deliver the lessons as well as the children. As well as the teachers, sorry. Okay, because the teachers, that's what they're trained to do. For some, they're not all working from home and they still have to, physically show up at work. So, the children are on their way, on their own at home. Okay. Yeah, it's quite a juggle for the parents because, the children may tend to give up on learning and, spend a lot of time on the TV. Yes, fighting and arguing a lot. Yes, I feel you on that one. Okay, let me see, maybe a couple more. Okay, not being able to do it as best as the teachers. Are the schools going to survive? Okay, staying calm when delivering the sessions. Yes. All right, to the children is tough. Okay. Maybe I'll just save this and wrap it up, but thank you so much for your candid sharing. I think all these are very, very valid concerns and fears. Are you going to be good enough as a teacher? The teachers have all the resources in school. They have all the materials. So how are you going to manage as a parent? For those of us who have to work online, maybe you have calls scheduled at the same time when the children have the teacher online to teach. So how are you going to manage that? For those with multiple children, especially those who are very young, one of the things I realized is that especially for those who are 7, 8, it still has to be a lot of hands-on help with them. If they have to log on, if they have to do something online, who is going to be there to help them? Yes, and then of course patience. There's sometimes when the children are home and you're wondering, but how do the teachers actually deal with them? And I'll talk a bit about that. The difference between parent as the teacher and teacher as the teacher. And some of the things that you can do to just deal with that. Okay. So let me just share back my presentation. I think I have, just hold on. Let me just share the slideshow. Here we go. Okay, so just in terms of reality check, for the parents, there's the changes in your work situation. Some are working online from home. Others are still going to work, but probably reduced staff. So, there's strain in the office as well. Maybe workload has increased because you have less staff. Maybe, you have less people physically there in the office. There's, of course, the financial strain. Either reduction in pay, or if you're running a business, there's a bit of financial strain on the parents. There's also reduced support in the home. For those of you maybe who have help coming in, maybe that has stopped. Maybe some of them went on leave. Curfew was introduced and they could not come back. So, you know, you have reduced support in your house. And then, of course, on the positive side, you have more time on your hands. You know, everyone has to be in the house by 7. So, you know, you have a lot more time. If you're working from home, maybe you cut off earlier. So, you know, you have more time at home than you would have. I think on the home front, the home must be quite busy. You know, everyone is now in the house at the same time. You know, before, maybe you'd have one parent out at work, one parent at home, 2 children are in school, one is at home, but now everybody is at home at the same time. So there's high traffic. You know, people up, down, some want to do different things, some wake up high energy, running around, you know, many stories, lots of activity. So, you know, the home environment is quite busy. New schedules, you know, just going back to, you know, you're working online. So the schedules have changed, you know, whereas you woke up at a certain time and left the house at a certain time, came back at a certain time. Now all that has changed. You know, you're waking up and moving to your desk in the house. That's the farthest that you're going to go. So of course, scheduling changes. Of course, there's more work, you know, if you have no nanny, you know, you're the one holding fort in the home, or both parents are holding fort in the home. And it can be a bit overwhelming, you know, if you have all these things happening. For the children, they've definitely reduced outdoor playtime. You know, in school, they have a lot of time outdoors to play. That has definitely reduced. And that impacts on their mental well-being and their state as well. Because, you know, children thrive in play. Of course, they're playing with all their friends, so there's a lot of social interaction. So of course, that has changed for them. Boredom. I don't know if there's any parent out there who feels me with the question, I'm bored, I'm so bored, I wish we were back in school, this is so boring. You know, that can be a constant, you know, thing from the children. As I mentioned, little or no socializing with friends and even extended family. You know, so maybe they were used to going out, hanging out with cousins, with family friends, with grandparents. And that has, you know, almost been reduced or completely not happening at all. So that impacts the children as well. There tends to be more screen time now, you know, just in terms of, you know, either entertainment, or they could even just be watching something educational. But there can be a tendency for the children to be on the screens more. Also more, either more structure or less structure, but I think, at least for me, in this last few weeks when they've been on break, it is less structure. So, you know, as school is coming, you know, up, there will need to be more structure, you know, and the question is, what does that look like? All right, so for, you know, for the parents, going back to what is expected of you, this can definitely look like mission impossible. You know, as one of the parents shared, you know, you're not sure how to deal with it, as now you will be teacher / parent. Your children will push back. You know, I love Calvin and Hobbes because it always just speaks to where we are in some with regards to some of these current situations. You know, so you see yourself as a parent, you know, you're teaching them something, and the child is pushing back and saying they don't understand why it's relevant, how this is relevant to their lives. And so as a parent, what do you do? What do you say? Because, you know, you're not normally with your child in class, you don't know how the teacher normally handles this. Okay, so I just came across this quote and I just wanted us to just talk briefly about it, because what really is education? I think one of the things we need to realize is that it education happens in many forms. If you think back to your children, when they were much younger, before they went to school, there are many things that they learned in your home. They probably learned their colors. They learned, how to scribble. They learned some basic counting, and even just, going back to when they were really little. There's so many things they've learned at home. They've learned how to sit up. We kind of tend to overlook some of the things that we are able to help our children along with before they enter formal learning. But the home is actually the child's first learning environment. They learned how to walk with you. They learned how to stand. They learned how to grasp objects. They learned how to crawl. So there are very many things that they've learned in the home. And the essence of education really is learning something new and honing skills that have already been learned to become even better. So as you're going into this space, please remember that education is in very many different forms. And there are a lot of things that your children can learn, even just in the home. So please don't focus only on the education, on the academic aspect, but focus on what are all the other skills that they're picking up while they're at home. And I'll talk about it a bit later in terms of the home being creating a good learning environment in your home. All right. So what does our roadmap look like? And I'll just briefly talk through each of these points. So the first thing I think I'd like to encourage parents is that you can do it. When you look at our children, especially when they are young, they have a very high sense of what is called self-efficacy, which is really the belief that you can do something. If you look at a 3-year-old, and I have a 3-year-old, so right now we're in the space where for her, she can do anything and everything. There's nothing that she does not believe she can do. And I think for us parents, the challenge is to get back into that space where we believe we can get something done. Remember that you are your child's first teacher. Before they ever went into school, you were the one teaching them at home. You were the one with them at home. They picked up a lot of skills from you in the home. So I'd really like to encourage you to know that you can do it. You have also been through schooling. So you have, learned your basic math, your English. I think one of the challenges sometimes as parents is we feel we can't do it as well as the teachers. So just remember that this is you. You cannot replicate the teacher in your home. So I think you need to just be confident in who you are and the space that you're in, and know that you can be able to teach your children. When I homeschooled my daughter for almost 2 years, and I think for me, one of the greatest fears, because she was in kindergarten at that time, was that she would probably join school and she would not be able to read, because that's what we were doing at that point in time. But the one thing I learned is that children are natural learners and they love to learn. And they feed off the confidence that they feel you have. So just walk with them and give them the space also to be able to drive some of their learning. And you'll be surprised at some of the things that they can do. All right. I think the second thing I think is routine. Children thrive on routine. So as you're going back to school, school at home, let me call it that, you need to have a schedule that you follow. So let the children wake up, at the same time every day. Go through your routine as you would, on a normal school day. So, wake up, make your bed, get dressed, brush your teeth, come down, have breakfast, and then you start school. Don't allow your children to do school in pajamas, as fun as it may seem, but it helps when, it's the same thing for you. You get out of bed, you freshen up, you feel like you're going to something, you're going to start something. And perhaps it'll also help them to be a bit more productive. So, allow them just to have a normal routine that they can follow, so that then it's also predictable for them. They know what to expect every day. They know what to expect. What time do we wake up? What time do we sleep? What are we going to do? What time will we take our breaks? And I know Audrey will share what the timetable will look like with you. But you just need to make sure that you have something predictable for the children. Number 3 is home environment. So you need to think through, where are your children going to work from? If you have multiple children, where are each of those children going to work from? Will you have, say, a breakout, sort of like an area where if they need to do some physical work where they're writing, coloring, drawing, or whatever other projects have been assigned, where are they going to work from? Where are you going to work from as a parent? Is it going to be easily accessible to the children if they say, maybe they need to ask you a question? Are you going to be able to answer their question, or do they have to, get off from where they are, come to you? Are you going to be able to quickly, just check on them? One of the things, excuse me, that I found, when I'm working and my children are also working, is that if you're generally just in the same area, they are more comfortable. But if you're sort of out of sight, sometimes they feel they have to come and look for you all the time. So, if you're able to, and so that, of course, taking into account that maybe you're on a call and you have to, work quietly, you need to be able to deal with that. In terms of home environment also, what resources do you have in your home? And I always tell parents, you don't have to break the bank in terms of resources. You can work with what you have in your home, but just, immediately for your children to learn, they need to have their notebooks, pens, as they would in class. So make sure everything is easily accessible and available at the point when they need it, so that, once maybe they're going into class, you're not feeling disorganized and thinking, oh gosh, where did we put that ruler? Where did we put the rubber? I can't find this. So encourage your children to prepare in the evening as they would for any normal school day. Have everything together in one place, so that when you start, you're not, running around and trying to find everything. I think for me, the other thing is to realize this is a great opportunity for character building. Because we are all facing unprecedented times. And now you're literally with your children 24/7. This is a great opportunity for, building character, patience, some of the skills that they really need to survive in life. Diligence, resilience, perseverance. There's a parent who talked about what do you do when your children just give up and they just want to go out and play. You need to be able to sit down, take them through, okay, this is our problem. Can we break it down step by step? And even for you as a parent, if you're really stuck, being able to ask for help, from the teachers, from, the administration of the school, I think parents, we need to be able to shout when we are struggling or underwater, because it's also part of our character building. We have to, we're also learning how to be patient with our children. You know, we're also learning sometimes, I think, to be a bit more relaxed, especially now, you know, when we look at the routine. The reality is things are not going to go exactly as they would, you know, if school was running as normal. So I think we need to just also be a bit more flexible with the children. Yeah, it'll be part of building our character as well. I think, so the fifth point is also in terms of building relationship with our children. Our children will not listen to us if we have no relationship with them. So I think for learning at home to be successful, this for me is very, very fundamental. Your children need to know that they can trust you. They need to know that they can ask you questions, you know, without feeling that this is something wrong or they're doing the wrong thing, or if they get something wrong, they need to know that you will correct them in a way that will build them up. So that relationship is very important. And I think it's something to keep in mind, because even when all this blows over, your relationship with your child will remain. So how will they have experienced you in this season? You know, the backdrop also is that as a parent, you're dealing with a lot. You know, and sometimes your patience will be wearing very, very thin. So, you know, just going to point number 6, self-care. If you need to take time out, please feel free to do that. You know, if you need even just 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just to step away from the children, step away from your work, do something that you enjoy. It could be either go out and exercise, you know, you could go out and cycle. It could be even just getting on a phone call with a friend, just to vent and, you know, just to recharge yourself. I think it's important that we do that, especially in this season, because we need to keep ourselves whole, you know, because our children are also watching us. And in this crisis, we are also modeling what it looks like to be an adult in a crisis. So they're learning from us in terms of how to deal with crisis, how to deal with problems, and our attitude towards it. All right, and then finally, I think we need to run your own race. This thing is not a competition of which child will be, you know, on top of everything, which family will be looking like they have it all together. Run your own race. Every family situation is unique and different. You know, I saw one of the parents said they have a 5-week-old. So I mean, the dynamics in that home are very different from, you know, where maybe there's only one child at home or 2 children who are probably close in age and, you know, much more independent. So don't compare yourself to any other parent. Work with your own child, because children are also different. Our children all have different temperaments. They may not take to this learning at home as quickly as others may. You know, for some parents, because they're juggling a lot, you know, you'll be fumbling along the way, and that is okay. That is okay, because this is a whole new space to all of us. So please also cut yourself some slack. Support each other as parents. You know, if you have spaces, you know, chats where you talk to each other as parents, encourage each other, share tips, share what is working for you. Yes, and just build each other up in this season. All right. Okay, I think that's about it from me. Maybe I'll just talk a bit about resources and some of the things that have been helpful for me. So one is having lots of books, storybooks for the children to read, because what happens is when you have the issue of I am bored, for me, I will always just say, pick up a book to read. Sometimes the children are like, oh, but I've already read that one. And I say, that's okay. Please, it is okay to be able to read it again. Sorry, maybe I can just remove that for a moment. And I think it's important to provide our children with as many resources as they need to be able to keep themselves engaged in the home. The other thing, just in terms of resources, is okay. All right. I've just seen that question. Can you elaborate more about home environment and space management? Okay, I'll just talk about that in a moment. So the other thing I found in terms of resources is have enough paper, pencils, coloring things, because children are creative. So you'll find some children like to cut up things, glue things, do a bit of crafting. Please have that available in your home. I would say create maybe a little maker space. Have just the things you find in the home: toilet paper rolls, paper, pencils, glue, and then you'll be shocked what these children can come up with. Go on to sites with them, like this DIY. There are children who love DIY. Make a little craft. One of the things that was really interesting for me, my daughter had a project where they were learning about housing. So they were supposed to make a house, with cardboard. It was quite an interesting task. But what I have found is that house has received the most airtime in terms of play. And all we did, it was just a simple house made with cardboard, and it had like 2 floors and some stairs, and it was very easy. We just did it with glue and an old carton. But the children were really, really excited about it. So sometimes we find we want to invest in very expensive resources, but sometimes all the children need is something simple. So let's get creative. Let's find different ways to keep them busy other than the screens. And just remember that these resources you don't have to break the bank with resources. They are within easy reach. Okay, let me just talk about home environment and space management. This one is, it's quite a challenge because sometimes you may not have all the space that you need in your home. So like now for me, for example, I have 3 school-going children. So, with this online learning, it has meant everybody needs a desk to work at, in the space where there is Wi-Fi, because for me, one of my rules is that if we are on the internet, it is somewhere where everybody is. It's not the thing of you go hide yourself in your room and you're there on your screen. Because as a parent, I feel I need to be able to monitor what everybody is doing. So, we all need to be generally in the same space. Wow, it is quite a challenge for me. What worked was I have 1 child at a desk, actually 2 children at the desk. When their classes were not, in the last 3 weeks, their classes were not at the same time. But I gave them also just in the living room, sit on a cushion. We have a lap desk, and you sit and you follow your classes from there. Because the reality is space may be constricted. I think what you would need to do if you have multiple people online is figure out quiet spaces for everybody. So maybe you might need one person maybe in the dining. Also get them what is this? Earphones. Earphones. I got these. They're actually pretty cheap in Miniso. Or just just get a cheap pair of earphones. Again, have to the bank on that, so that the child, especially if they're in class and the teacher is teaching, and all they need to be doing is following, then you're able to manage the noise levels as well. Yes, but I would say be creative with how you manage your space. Maybe get some bean bags, get some big cushions. It's okay for kids to just sit on the floor, comfortable, because again, they're in their home environment. This is a different space. And if you're not able to immediately invest in all these spaces as they would sit in a classroom, I think there is some leeway to get creative, as long as the children, are not just slouching on the floor or on the couch. I'm always encouraging my children, sit upright. It encourages flow of air, and it also helps you to focus. Yeah, I hope that answers the question. Okay, so what happens to the child who both parents leave for work right now during this pandemic and is left with the nanny? Okay, so wow, that is, I don't know. I think maybe that one, Audrey, you may have to deal with on a one-on-one basis, because then I think as a school, you need to communicate what are your expectations, and in these unique situations, how can you support, those parents? How can you support those parents? All right. Any other questions? Sorry, my life is such a problem. Let me see. Any other questions from the parents? You can just type out your questions even in the Q&A space. All right, a bit of silence here. Any other questions from the parents? Okay, the Zoom call sometimes abruptly when the 40-minute free window over. Okay, I think Audrey, you can help with that one as well, because I think that's now be, on the part of the school. How are you structuring your classes? How long will they be? And how will you handle that? Okay, let's see. I don't know. I'm not sure my lighting will get any better than this.
It's okay. Now it's a bit better.
Now it's better. Okay. Sawa sawa. Okay, let's see. I think there's another question here. Example of activities for doing with kids to replace screen time. Okay. Number one for me is games. I think every home you should have a pack of playing cards. Playing cards are one of the easiest way to just keep kids busy in terms of games. And, you know, I'll share some ideas with Audrey, even just in terms of math games that you can play with playing cards. You know, you can really get creative with that. And then just invest in, you know, a few board games, maybe get Scrabble, Monopoly. The other thing you can do a lot is crosswords, word searches, you know, with the children. What other kind of activities? As I mentioned before, crafting, you know, DIY, baking, cooking together in the home. Remember that the children, even through all these everyday activities, they are still learning. One of the things you can also do with the children is just begin to teach them how to sew. You know, so just get a sewing kit, get some, we used to call that material what? Ginger cotton. Begin to teach them small things like, let's sew a button. You know, do they know how to sew a button? Tell them to find, you know, some socks that they've not been able to wear because they have some holes. Begin to teach them how to, you know, do some of these little things for themselves at home, because it's a new skill that, and then just go, well, baking has been a big thing now, you know, and one of the things as they're still learning, what we talked about, education coming in needs. So say, for example, they have to follow a recipe. That is learning how to follow instructions. They're learning how to weigh things. So they begin to understand the difference between grams and kilograms, liters and milliliters. What happens when they are using, oh, sorry, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now, Audrey? Is that okay? That's fine now, yeah?
It has stabilized a bit. It's better.
Sorry?
It is now better.
It's better now, huh?
It's cutting a bit, but just continue. It's coming on and off, but I think you can continue.
It's on and off, huh?
Yeah.
Sorry, just give me a minute. Let me just give me a minute. Let me just see. Okay, hold on.
Maybe Audrey can mention a few things even as you continue to adjust. Is that okay? You can cover.
Audrey, is that better now?
Yeah,
you're back.
Better.
Yes.
Okay. So I was talking about, we were talking about the different activities they can do. So I was saying, even if you go into the kitchen, you know, doing something like baking, by following a recipe, children are learning how to read through instructions and follow them. So there's the accuracy that they're learning. You know, that if you miss out one thing, or if you put in less of what they should not, you know, of something critical, then, you know, you will not have the correct end result. They're learning measurement. You know, when you're weighing things out, kilos, you know, grams, what's the difference, liters, how to use measuring spoons, maybe how to use a weighing scale, different ingredients, what is their role, you know, so the children are learning new skills. So I think, especially in terms of activity around the home, allow them to do as much as they possibly can, you know, even if it's different chores, even if it's to help make dinner, allow them to cut up things. you know, that is also building fine motor skills. So in everything that they're doing in the home, they're learning. So it doesn't have to even, you know, be academic activities per se, but just being a part of, you know, what's happening every day in the home, you know, when they've taken their breaks. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's on replacing screen time. Is there a specific learning for a 4-year-old? What are the modalities to engage children? Okay. And then there's give some good websites for fun time to change the screen time also. All right, I'll share some of those as well. I'll just go back to the other question in a minute. One of the things that your children can learn in this season is typing. Typing is a very important skill, and I can share with Audrey some sites, you know, that I've used with my kids for typing, for, you know, for them to learn how to type. Okay, I just want to see what are some of the questions we can consolidate. Okay, maybe let me deal with the specific learning for a 4-year-old. I think maybe over to you, Audrey. I think you'll need to deal with this in terms of what are your expectations, especially for the younger ones, in terms of what are they going to be learning? How are they going to be learning? The reality is for a 4-year-old, it has to be very hands-on learning. So I think the parents will need a lot of guidance in terms of how to achieve this and the kind of activities that they need to be doing with them. Okay. Let me just see. There was another one. The government has allowed Longhorn to break down a timetable for all students and parents. Okay, I think Audrey will speak about the timetabling and what needs to happen with that. With different ways of solution approach, e.g. solving math problems, e.g. math solving problems with conflicts, with the teacher's way of doing things, and the teacher is always right. What do we do? Yes, that one is a classic one. Teacher said. So how do we deal with this? One of the things I've learned with math is that there are many ways to solve problems. And what I always tell my children is there are many ways to skin a rat, right? And I think especially with math, and perhaps Audrey, you can help support your parents and teachers with this, just in terms of closer collaboration, especially in this season. Children, especially in math, need a bit of leeway in terms of coming up with their own strategies for problem solving. Because at the end of the day, the skill they need is not just computation, but the ability to solve problems. And that is a skill that they need to take away in such subjects. So for me, what I've always done is encourage them to see different methods of solving problems, and then they choose the one that works for them. Because at the end of the day, sometimes I may have my way of solving a problem, but they have another way, and that's what works for them, and that is the best thing. Because in a space where they need to work on a problem, say in an exam, you don't want them trying to apply your method or the teacher's method and they can't get it. And yet if they used their method, which may be, you know, just one step that's different, you know, that's what would work for them. So for me, I always say, give them that leeway and let them talk you through it, you know, and as long as they arrive at the same answer, that is fine. That is okay. Yeah, that is okay. And I think it's something we need to encourage our children to do, because it also allows them to know that they can find solutions for themselves. They don't always have to follow somebody else's solution. All right. Okay, so there's another question there on timetabling. making up a standard timetable to avoid exploiting and interfering with their learning. How many hours a day would be ideal for academic work and non-academic activities? Okay, maybe just one note to the parents. The reality is in this season, things are different for everybody, and especially for the children. So I think one of the things we need to take into consideration is that the children should also not be under too much academic pressure, because they have other pressure that they as children are also dealing with. And sometimes as parents, we don't realize it, but some of the changes that have happened have also affected them. And sometimes they may not be able to communicate it as effectively as we, the adults, would. So especially in terms of, strictness, or we must do this, I think, especially in the beginning, as you're trying to ease into the, learning at home, be a bit flexible, listen to your children, ask them what is working for them, what is not working for them, and try and make it as enjoyable as possible for them in terms of learning at home. Because you want them to come out of this season stronger. You want them to come out, having picked up more skills, having bonded with you better, having bonded, better as a family. You don't want them coming out thinking that was the worst experience of my life. Be a bit flexible, listen to them, pick up on their cues when they're tired, work with the school as well. If the timetable is too heavy, please give feedback. Because I think they will be flexible enough to say, okay, I think this is not working, let's try something else, because everyone is learning at the same time. All right, okay, so over to you, Audrey.
Oh, thank you, Neema. That was amazing. I loved the slides, all those colors,
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you, and thank you, parents, for the conversations, keeping up with the conversation. Well, I'll try to just answer some of the things, and Tom will answer also some of the things. And this is just a beginning of the conversation, so let's not feel pressure. We can continue talking as things come up. But today we'll just address some of the things that have come up. So the first thing is, I like what you've said about making this experience for the children a worthwhile experience in terms of less stress. So as far as releasing on the pressure for the academia, not to say that there'll be no learning, but for all of us to just, first of all, relax, and protect the feelings of the children as far as learning is concerned, because we don't want them to associate learning with stress and pressure. We want it to be inviting and exciting. So, taking a break when you need to, and really not, and following up later, if there's need for that. And then, okay, so there was a big question on schedule. So we plan to send a schedule, but how it will basically look like would be that the learning would happen in the morning hours, and it would be different based on classes and ages. So that we're going to send to you depending on your child's age. But then in the afternoon, as the teachers will be following up on the children individually, would also encourage you to do a few things with the children, and just keep them engaged for the afternoon. For the younger ones, we are still navigating the dynamics in terms of, as Neema mentioned, they need a lot of hands-on work. We can't keep them on the screen for too long, below 4. So a lot of creativity needed. We'll support as far as that is concerned with guidelines, sometimes resources on just what kinetic activities you can do with the children. And then as we have said, to manage our expectations, because one, they're not in school for the whole day as in a normal situation. So we may not, we will, what am I trying to say? If we manage our expectations, then it will be easier for the children. Yeah. So for this time, I know there's one teacher who's doing creative writing with the older ones, and she was giving feedback and saying, sometimes you plan to do a lesson within 30 minutes, but then 15 minutes are spent, you know, settling in, children getting excited, you know, saying hi to the others and all that. So then if it's a lesson that was to be done strictly within those 30 minutes, it means it spills over into another 30 minutes and possibly even into another day. So managing expectations as far as that is concerned. So for what we're going to focus on are what we call the 3 R's, that's reading, writing, and arithmetic. Yeah, for this season, so that because those are key skills, we don't want the children to be left behind as far as that is concerned. But as far as long as they can read, any other subject when we come back will be easy to catch up on, because they'll be able to read fast, and numbers, as long as they can do their arithmetic, then they're growing, you know, and their writing skills. So those would be our 3 key focus areas as far as the academics are concerned. We'll try as much as possible to teach the concepts, that is the teachers, so that they're sort of like a standard. But then as Neema said, we're encouraging children to be able to solve problems. So we are not straight-jacketing them into something, but in cases like math, there'll be what the teacher has taught. And if the parent would like, they can then support and review. So a lot of the teaching of concepts will be coming from us. And then the parent's work will really be to reinforce and support the learning. The other thing is, there was something about nannies being at home and parents not being at home. So we'll also support, that's a unique situation, we'll support that family, you know, and a lot of collaboration with the parents and the nanny, so that it's also easy for them to just implement what is required. The other thing would be looking at this situation also as an opportunity to build family culture, you know, build family routines, and build memories, you know, good memories with the children. So part of the afternoon is also an opportunity to do that. I know families that are taking walks with the children in the neighborhood, you know, of course, social distancing with other people, and that you can see the children look fulfilled and happy and are not feeling cooped up in you know, in the home. So some basic things like that can also really build and bring bonding in the family. Yeah, so I think other things Tom will mention as we continue.
Yes, we just want to quickly rush through because I think we had timed it to end at 8:30. We had initially said for 8, but I'm happy we have had much more to cover. And then the others next Saturday in the morning, we'll get feedback and also do a follow-up webinar also by Neema. By Neema. And then just a few things to cover. Yes, as already said, we'll have a guideline schedule so that it can be used by parents and sometimes guardian or either person who's at home. To enforce, as she said, most of the new concepts will be by the teacher, so that now that helps the parents to relax. But of course, as Neema said, when you're enforcing, just don't continue to teach, encourage the children that there are many ways to learn. And we'll also encourage the teachers to also communicate that. Individual engagement will happen individually with the children in the afternoons by the different teachers. And that's a part of the individualized growth. And so this opportunity is actually something that we are looking forward for that to happen in more than we usually do, even when we are in full engagement in school. Virtual dynamics, just to mention very quickly, in terms of the platform we'll be using will be Google, for those who joined later, Google Classroom. And so it is not Zoom. And so that is a different platform that will be primarily set up for class. And so to encourage you to just get acquainted with it, we'll send you a few things and links to just get acquainted with it. On the same thing, regarding to the a few things here and there in terms of the gadgets. First and foremost, as you're starting off, of course, we all start off with what we have. We'll send probably, or we'll be able to send a schedule to just guide you as a parent. But one of the things you can need to start processing as a stretch assignment is starting to process to get gadgets specifically for the children. 2 or 3 things, of course. Sometimes those are more affordable, but we'll eventually send more that we actually had planned as a school to be able to incorporate at the end of this year, in line with the digital classroom objectives, not just in CBC, but just 21st century learning, that are a bit more robust. Some of them are a bit more pricey, but so some of them could be considerations, even though this season is a strain for many of us financially. But the reason it's important to start processing getting a gadget for the child, a device, is of course, first and foremost, when they're using your phone, it locks you down in terms of your work, if it's a laptop, so a tab specifically for the child, and we'll send you a guide just to help you based on what you're able to do, what is the best ideal situation and what you can navigate for the moment. Second important reason that is important, it helps you manage your screen time. If they're using your phone to be studying, it's usually a challenge for you to tell them, because what it does, it has disrupted your rules in terms of screen time. But if they have a device specifically for learning, it helps so that they know that is for classroom. And so you're able to just manage your screen time in terms of phone and TV, because they know learning has a specific device, but that of course is an ideal as you go forward. But as you start off, you can manage with what you have, and we'll just work with you even as we send you a survey to just see what you have and how we can manage. A few questions, I've been speaking to some of the dads in terms of what is happening nationally in terms of government. Of course, what is happening, one of the things we've gotten reassured is that there'll be one of the things that people had thought as a worst case scenario, which we feel will be very unlikely, would be when people had said, would they now postpone a whole year of learning, which we feel is almost impossible. That would be very drastic and it will destabilize too many things. So probably what will happen is 2 things. Our government will probably start pushing, especially the public schools, to take advantage of what is available on KIE, on TV, on radio, in terms of the national service, and a few things, of course. The Longhorn has been able to send some of the resources. But to encourage you, your afternoon is a time, based on what a question had been asked, when you have your own schedule, we'll send our schedule for the morning learning, but then in the afternoon, you can choose to see how you can have your own time for learning and relaxation and play and just an engagement schedule. And you can choose to see how you can use different resources to reinforce the learning. But we don't have to stick with the Longhorn one. We'll have the Marisha one, and then you can incorporate others that you can find out there creatively based on what you feel is best as a parent. So you have the liberty on the other times of the schedule. I think that as Neema said, it will be always important to have a headphone because it helps the child to focus on that and not on the environment. They say headphones sometimes better than earphones because in terms of just health, because they say it's a bit healthier on the eardrums, but of course and you can still find affordable headphones as you move forward. I think those are some of the main things. And then I allow also Audrey to mention something as we continue before we close at 8:30.
Yes. There was something about the food, the eating that's happening at home. I saw something creative one parent had done. She had actually packed snacks for the day. So there were like 3 trays. She had 3 kids, 3 trays, and each child has their tray. So it has their water, it has their snack, and whatever else they need for the day. So once they have finished that, then they know I'm done for the day. So that you also manage their appetite, and manage their self-control levels. So it's important to maybe just, because in school that is already planned out for them. So at home having, this is your water bottle, this is your snack for the day, and any other addition, and that's it for the day. So that would probably help them manage their appetite and self-control, and also help you as far as budget and resources is concerned.
Yes, I know Neema would probably want to add a few things, probably based on anything that you maybe hadn't mentioned, and then we close in about 4 or 5 minutes.
Okay. All right, just to talk a bit about the resources that Elimubox has. So we primarily sell children's storybooks. And not just, storybooks for entertainment. We have a lot of non-fiction material. In fact, as Audrey was mentioning, what Longhorn has, one of the things that I encourage parents to do is go beyond the textbook. So say, for example, you're learning something in science, find a non-fiction science book that presents the material in an innovative and exciting way for the children. I will also share a couple of sites that have got very interesting non-fiction, learning material for children, and that are also free, so that you can take advantage of that in this season and sort of broaden your, your go-to spaces for resources, when the children are, say, learning around a certain topic. So as I had shared my website on the page, it's www.elimubox.com. And you can go in there and just browse our resources. We are continually updating because, we have quite a bit. We have some games on there as well for sale, some crafting material. And as I had mentioned, I do gently used books and new books, but I aim to keep my prices low so that parents are able, to slowly build their resources at home. And also my encouragement to parents in this season, in as far as it is possible, is to, maybe you can find a way to swap books, if you're in the same neighborhood, because sometimes you can only afford so much at a certain point, but, there could be another child who has other books that your child does not have. So, keeping within the guidelines for this season, maybe find a way to swap books, and I'm sure Audrey will also let you know in due course what other resources you can be able to access. But I'll share my contacts as well. If you have any questions on the resources that you find, my details are all there, and I'd be happy to have a chat and to provide all the support that parents need in this season. Yeah, thanks, Audrey.
Yeah, we'll be able to send her contacts on text and also on email, so that you have it, something that you can quickly jump onto. But to invite you also to quickly go to Elimubox. It's a world of resources that she runs.
Neema, you can put up the last slide.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yes, Elimubox. And then now just see how much more you can get. Also, you can go, I know there's a page she used to do before she focused on Elimubox, but you can just check it out.
Zazie. Yes,
it's called Zazie. It's on Facebook. But Elimubox is a place where learning, and there's so much resources and very affordable resources that you can get. And then we can partner with her to see how they can get to you, especially in the afternoons, so that you can keep your children engaged. And so we are looking forward to that, and even partnering more with her as we continue. Any closing comments? Because our time is up.
Okay. I think I'll work with Neema as well to get a catalog. I see some guys are asking for age, for age-specific books. So I'll, share the catalog as well for Elimubox. Okay. And then, we can continue with that. But also to just say thank you everyone for, showing up on an early Saturday. Yeah, so thank you very much. And we look forward to more and more conversations.
Yes, we chose Saturday morning, talking to a few parents, because noticing some of you are still going to work. And so most work starts at 9. If you have to go you can go early next week, almost the same time, hopefully, unless feedback tells us otherwise. But we are happy you've come, but we are basically done. So thank you so much. God bless you. We'll see you again on Saturday morning.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Any questions, you can send to us on email, and we'll continue to look forward. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neema.
Okay, thank you.